Bonjour à tous, merci d'être avec nous. C'est tenu aujourd'hui la réunion des chefs d'état-major des 27 États membres sous la présidence du général Syrén, le président du comité militaire de l'UE. Général, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for coming here. Today we have had the Chief of Defense meeting. All the 27 Chief of Defense are here, or some of them had representatives. We meet twice a year, and I meet every week. I meet the representatives here in Brussels. And we started this morning with an informal session with the Russian Chief of Defense. I have met him a couple of times before, and he gave a briefing about the transformation process in Russia, which is very interesting. I mean, it's a huge country with huge challenges. And the second part of this discussion was also how Russia can contribute to the CSDP process. And over the years, we have seen Russia in some of our operations, for example, in Chad, and with helicopters, and also in now for the World for Food program and information sharing in Atalanta operation. He gave a quite clear picture of the willingness to continue to have staff-to-staff talks, to participate in different trainings and exercises. We also raised the question about having their support concerning tactical and strategic airlift, and also to continue to do business together in the Atalanta operation. And then after that, our formal session started, and we paid a lot of interest to what we call the Military Committee Strategic Plan. It's a plan that is following all the intentions and the political will in the Lisbon Treaty. And all the 27 Chief of Defense, they have agreed to this plan, so there is a clear linkage between the Lisbon Treaty and what we are doing. And also so the other way that the Chief of Defense, they know why they are doing this. It's clearly linked to the strategic priorities, and that they are, firstly, of course, it's operations and the missions, Althea, Atalanta, and U-turn Somalia. It's also about capability development. And number three is the comprehensive approach, how to do that. I mean, that is one of the bullets in the treaty, and also how to contribute to the implementation of the Lisbon Treaty, and finally also strategic partnerships that you probably have heard both Mr. Rompuy and Baroness Ashton talking about strategic partnerships. And then we turned over to the morning to lunch, the capability session. And that was very interesting because the European Defence Agency, EDA, they gave a very comprehensive briefing about possibilities, where we can cooperate and where we can find common denominators, and where we can start or continue a good cooperation. We have also from our side prepared the member states for the lessons learned. In order to have a capability development, you must provide this process with an input, and that is the lessons learned. And this is a huge responsibility for the Chief of Defense to provide us with that. And we think that it must be improved. In that context, we also discussed the EU-NATO cooperation, so we avoid duplications. And we also discussed the possibilities to pooling and sharing. And I think that this was a quite promising discussion we had. And it's very clear to the member states that we must do a number of changes in this context, depending on the financial situation, for example, and we must work smarter and more cooperative. And capability development, once again, that's one of the key messages in the Lisbon Treaty. And then we had the pleasure to meet Baroness Ashton for lunch, so-called working lunch. And this was the first time that all the Chief of Defense together had the possibility to listen to her, and she gave some sort of state of play in the development of the Lisbon Treaty. And we also talked about the missions and capability development, so it was very much in line with the program as such. And there were some interesting questions, which is, of course, not impossible, but very, very difficult to answer today, but that is a continuation of the ongoing operations and also the need for cooperation. And there were also questions inspired of the meeting in the morning with the Russian Chief of Defense about strategic partnerships. And she mentioned Russia, India, for example. And you have also probably have heard the ambitions with Eastern strategic partnerships. But this is still in some sort of cradle, but we had a relaxed and interesting dialogue around this. If you can have a relaxed discussion when you are 30 around the lunch table, I don't know, but I think we felt comfortable. And then during the afternoon, we have discussed our operations, and we started with the Atalanta operation, and we were talking in terms of a success. We are also discussing the need to have a better system concerning the legal matters and how to continue here. We also touched on the need for end state, and also to have some sort of more holistic view over the whole region. Are we talking about sea lanes of communication, or are we talking about stabilizing the country of Somalia, or are we discussing the whole region? This is an operation that is still in progress. And then the operation commander, General John McCall, presented the situation and the state of play in EUFOR Althea in Bosnia. And, you know, there is the two pieces. It's executive and non-executive mandate. And we have now a revised operation plan for the continuation on a very low level. So that is a very low footprint and with some risk-taking. And then we have the non-executive mandate, which is training and exercise and helping the Bosnian army to be professional. And finally, we had the EU training mission Somalia, where we are in a very interesting phase where the first batch of almost 900 instructors are ready to be launched back to Mogadishu or to Somalia. Here it's very important to define this question correctly. The mission is to educate or train two batches, between 900 and 1,000 in each, for being instructors and trainers back in Somalia after this education of about between 6 or 8 months. That is the job we have, and that is done. I mean, it's a good result both concerning quantity and quality. But then the unavoidable question is what happens when they come back to Somalia? Will the payment mechanism, will they work? Will they have their accommodations to stay there? And will they be under the control of the transitional forces in Somalia? It's very difficult to answer that question. So I personally think that we must wait and see. Personally, that is not my character to wait and see, but in this case, I think we have to do that, to see what really happened, and be very, very careful, and take the measures after the experiences that we get after time here. But this is, of course, one very serious and difficult question. Another one is if there is any continuation of these two batches, and who will do that, and how will that be, how is the choreography for that? And that is, of course, we're still outside the mandate that I'm talking about, and that will be a political question, and I have already participated in discussions in this matter with the political level. So this was the agenda points we had, and then after that we had some any other business. We were given short comments from UK and their strategic review, and also the planning situation for the armed forces in Germany, and then some administrative matters. So all in all, I think we have accomplished what we hoped during this meeting. The atmosphere is good, and we have a good dialogue, and I would say that compared to earlier meetings, the understanding that of the financial crisis is now very clear, and because of that I am quite optimistic for having something substantial concerning pooling and sharing in quite a close future, and also with in this context cooperation with the EDA, European Defence Agency. So this is I'm just coming from the meeting, so this is spontaneously what I experienced.